many movies do you have there?
Like 7.
No, you pick one.
1? Are you serious?
I can know who's next.
One.
Hey, Lawrence. Find everything okay?
Yep. Look, I know that last time you guys said you weren't hiring, but I just wanted to give you a hard copy of my resume.
Oh, yeah. Thanks. I'll hold on to that.
I don't know if you know, but Lawrence, he applied to NYU's Tisch School
yeah.
of the Arts. He's very talented, loves films.
Very cool. Yeah, Terry, it looks like you have a late fee on your account for $25 for Wild Things. Would you like to pay that off today?
No, I would not.
You've landed on The Substance. I'm your host, Philip Marinello, saying welcome back. We're happy to have you with us. Here at The Substance, we're looking to have conversations that help us all better appreciate goodness, truth, and beauty. Previous guests include folks like Film Spotting's Josh Larson, Elliot Cohen, actor-director John Carroll Lynch, Dan McCoy from the Flophouse podcast, and our pals over at Letterboxd, Slim and Mitchell. This week, we're back with a Substantive Cinema, and it is a great one. Speaking of Letterboxd, shout out to Gemma and Slim over at Letterboxd and the Letterboxd show a couple years ago for putting this on my radar. I believe it came out in Canada 2022, 2023, and heard a great episode with the writer-director Chandler Levick over on the Letterboxd show back when that was coming out. And it just sounded like a wonderful movie. So I added it to my watch list, and I considered, I got a very long watch list. I considered getting a VPN and trying to watch it in Canada, but I eventually waited long enough, and it came over here to Hoopla, where it is still available. If you're listening to this when it airs, it's still available to stream on Hoopla and Canopy. If you care about not having some things spoiled, I'd say pause the episode now, fire up your Hoopla or Canopy, watch the movie and then come back. Or if it's not that important to you, like I like movies, there are definitely some things that get revealed over the course of the movie, but it's much more of a vibe. It's so much fun. And listeners, I truly hope that if you're somebody who loves movies or cinema is an important part of your life at all, go check this out. I think you'll really relate to a lot of it and enjoy it quite a bit. So like I said, I love this movie, which makes this episode particularly enjoyable because not only are we covering the movie, we were able to snag the film's star, Romina Dugo, who plays the female lead of the movie. She plays the manager of the video store that the protagonist works at. They strike up a relationship, and the movie really is about two people at various crossroads in their life, kind of circling each other and helping each other move forward. And it really is, it's funny, it's sweet, it's heartbreaking at times. It really is just a wonderful movie. So hope y'all check that out. Reminder, if you're not operating a motor vehicle right now as you're listening, I'd say don't even pause the show. Keep listening, but open up your podcast app of choice. If there's a 5-star button, we'd like to invite you to hit that right now. And if you're listening on Apple, which for some reason is still the largest podcatcher out there, if you'd write a sentence or two talking about what you like about the show, it really does help new folks find us. So, and we'd appreciate it very much if you did that. So without further ado, here is my conversation with Romina Dugo on I Like Movies. Well, Romina, I will just get into it here. Welcome to The Substance. I'm very excited to have you on here today.
Thanks, Philip. I'm excited to be here.
For all the reasons. I loved your movie. We're going to get to that. But I really just love seeing an Italian do well in the world.
Oh my God. Are you full Italian?
No, my father's side was full Italian. My mom was a whole bunch of whatever.
Yes. That's
No
my
offense.
husband. No. My husband is a half Italian, half bunch of whatever, but I'm a full Italian. Yeah.
Jealous. Yep. Yeah, my grandparents some of them, both of my grandparents were born in Italy, and then some of their younger siblings were born here. So my dad was first generation.
Okay. Okay. I was first generation.
Nice.
It, it just gets, the Italianness just gets deeper and deeper.
Italian Canadian.
Very,
Is there an Italian Canadian community?
oh my God, it's huge. I mean, in Montreal,
Okay.
it's ginormous. And then in Toronto, it's also really, really popping.
Maybe I am trying to over the next few years get more into the festival circuit. So if I'm ever up for TIFF, I'll see about seeing what's up with the Italians out there.
Well, we have Little Italy. We have a little.
Yes, I've heard
Um,
they shoot some stuff over there, right?
right, yes, and they named some movies after it too.
I listened to some podcast episodes about that one.
We have an area called Woodbridge, and that's a very Italian neighborhood north of Toronto. But we have, yeah, it's a very there's a lot of Italians immigrated to Toronto, like my parents.
Well, and also when I first reached out to you saying, before I was even like trying to get you on the show, I was just saying, hey, love the thing. You said you checked out one of our episodes and we chatted about the Feel Bad classic Raging Bull.
Yeah. How do you feel?
That was
how do you feel about that?
Honestly, like I watched it several times last year because we covered it on the show, and I presented because they had the new 4K restoration. I presented one of the screenings at our local theater, and I think it's just a masterpiece. Like, I don't know if I'd say favorite, but I think it's one of, if not Marty's best.
I agree. That's intense, Philip, that you watched it multiple times in a year. That did something to your psyche, I'm certain.
It probably did. Like every now and then, like I would watch it every couple years, and I'd be like, "Whew, like this is rough." But like I really like studied it last year for the show and to get ready to like talk about it at the screening. And yeah, it's a lot.
It's a lot. Well, I was telling you that I was I mean, I was trying to get my husband to watch a number of films from back in the day, and that was one of them. And we started it, and I looked at him, I was like, I don't think I should be doing this again, because when I watched it, I was in my 20s and I was still living at home, and I come from a very Italian home where it's loud. It's loud.
Yes.
And I watched that film back then and I was like, this is fine. This is normal, right?
Yeah,
Now that
exactly.
I think I'm healthier. It's disruptive to the psyche.
My wife and I have had a number of just those conversations about like attitude and volume. But yeah, she didn't get very far in that. But that movie, I talked about it in our, because we also covered it on an episode of the show with a local film critic here in Kansas City. But like the first 20, 30 minutes, I never had that New York experience. I'm from Florida. All the Italians that didn't like the cold in New York, some stayed in New York and some of my family went to Florida, and the Florida ones are the ones that I came from. But I would grow up looking at the picture books and hearing the stories. Like secondhand nostalgia is so strong. I feel like for the first 20, 30 minutes of Raging Bull, like those aren't my memories, but I'm like, that's exactly like what I picture of like all the people living on top of each other in the apartment and the public pools and the clubs. I was like, I feel like that's exactly what it was, or at least it is in my mind.
Funny, secondhand nostalgia. I have a lot of that. I have so much of that sometimes I feel more Italian than I feel Canadian.
Nice. I definitely, especially who knows what's going on now. I definitely feel a stronger affinity for my Italian heritage than I do my American occasionally.
Fair. Yeah.
But yeah, that's an interesting thing.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Yeah, definitely. I'm enjoying Marty's late phase too. We have a lot of really great movies coming out from the senior masters, and hopefully they all continue to get funded. His stuff is definitely, I mean, it's intense, but his stuff is definitely a lot more meditative and chilled out over the years.
What was the De Niro film, The Hunting Party? Is it The Hunting Party? No, sorry. It's so classic. The Hunting Party, The Hunting Game,
The Deer Hunter?
Deer Hunter! The Deer Hunter. I watched that last year. Oh my God.
First time?
Yeah.
That is one.
That was
When people say like, "Oh, like what's a good movie you only watch once?" I probably would watch it again, but The Deer Hunter, I watched it once many years ago, and I'm not in a rush.
yeah, no. That was really intense. I just watched that last year. Yeah.
Was that for anything, or just kind of filling in the holes in the
Only,
filmographies?
yeah, exactly. Filming the cinematic holes of my past. But I feel like I used to watch in my 20s a lot of male raging centric cinema.
Sure, that was
Like,
what was art and edgy. Like that was, especially in like the '90s and the aughts. Like that's what was in.
it's so strange. That's what I related to, though. That's what I wanted to do. Like, I wanted to be Jack Nicholson. Like, I wanted to be Robert De Niro. I wanted to be Joe Pesci. I wasn't trying.
Joe Pesci, what a guy.
What a guy! What a guy! Oh, I love him. I want to know him. You know,
I would love to. I'm terrible at golf, but apparently that's all he does. Like I would love to just caddy for him and just chat.
my husband has seen him on the course before. Yeah,
That would be
same,
intimidating and very exciting.
yeah. Same with Ray Romano, and he'll text me like, Ray Romano's just teeing off." I'm like, "F you! What?" Oh, I have to practice. Just
I
for that.
love that. Well, hey, I would love to talk to Joe Pesci.
Okay.
I've heard so many great stories. I hear he is like a classic Italian, like very prickly, but also like the nicest,
Yes, like a genuine.
which is kind of what I aspire to be when I'm
Uh,
like 80.
yeah, yeah. He acquired that probably like when he was 10. Like, he had it.
Well, and he hasn't had to do anything. Like back in the day when they had those great deals, I think Home Alone, I don't think he had to do anything after he did those two movies.
Did he? Well, because he did the Scorsese stuff before Home Alone, right?
Yeah, well, he did stuff with like he did make stuff, but I don't think he had to. I think they had to talk him really hard into Casino after Goodfellas, and then
But was
or
that
was it Goodfellas after Casino?
what was
They had to talk him into Goodfellas after Casino, and then they really had to talk him into The Irishman.
Irish?
But if that's his last thing, that was incredible.
But I'm just saying, like, to do something like Home Alone after you've done such serious films with Scorsese,
Uh huh.
I wonder if there was any possibility that he was like, him and his team were like, "Oh yeah, this is gonna be a big deal movie, a classic." They built it all around this little blonde boy at the time who wasn't, I don't think, well known.
No, not at all.
I wonder if it was just a big chance and a big paycheck, and it was just like, all right, I gotta work, I gotta feed the family. I don't know, but then it turns out to be this iconic film. It's like everything he does is iconic, but that's one of those moments where you're like, I wonder if as an actor, as a human being, he was like, well, gotta feed the family, so I'll take this film.
I think it was probably that, and I don't know. He seems to kind of be very much his own guy, but I would imagine that at a certain point in your life, if you have children in your life, there's that. Like, I want to do something that they can see because his kids probably couldn't have seen anything else he did. And then also just the maybe not quite 4 quadrants, but like 2 quadrants. Like
Yeah,
he could have like a couple of different people who were fans of his stuff.
yeah, that's a good point. Yep,
He's not quite the rom-com guy.
I could see him in a rom com though, easily,
That would be great.
easily, right? It's like,
Still, I mean, I'd still watch it.
yeah, yeah, but it's funny. I related more to characters like that. Jack Nicholson. I was obsessed with Jack Nicholson. Why? Here we are, and here we are. I have managed,
Italian Appreciation Hour.
except for Jack Nicholson. He's not, but he has the quality.
No.
Just the fire, just the unreasonable fire, and then the charisma. I think is like that classic Italian dude from that era.
He was quite a guy for that generation. I honestly, for him, I've seen a couple of the big ones. He is not one that I have gone real deep on.
Have you seen Witches of Eastwick?
I have on TV a long time ago, and I couldn't tell you anything about it.
Okay, I love that movie. I watched it many times. He's
I'll watch list that one.
he's such a nut in that. Oh my god, what an
It's like part comedy, right?
oh yeah, yeah. I would say it's a comedy. I wouldn't.
I put that and like Death Becomes Her kind of like similarly in my head.
Yes, they would. They would be in the same category. Have you watched?
I'll add that to the list.
Have you watched? Speaking of Italian and actors, have you watched Il Postino, The Postman?
No, that is on my Criterion list, I believe. That's Criterion, right? Yes.
I'm not
I
sure.
think.
I bought the DVD when I was a while, many years ago.
I've heard you mention that actually. I did a little. I don't always have time, but I've heard you mention that on a few different outlets. So I was
Wow,
like, I do
probably.
need to
I love
check
that
that one
movie.
out.
I love it so much. It's so beautiful. Massimo Troisi is like devastatingly funny and heartbreaking. He's so special.
That's a wonderful combo there.
Yeah, yeah. I'd love to hear what you think when you watch it.
I will. I'll let you know. I'll send you my letter. Are you on Letterboxd?
I am
Are you a secret Letterbox user?
secret, kind of
Okay.
secret. Just not secret. Just not like regular.
Okay. Because I imagine I know some people. I'm making more contacts who are industry adjacent or in the industry, and I feel like at a certain point there could be like an awkwardness of rating something like 2 or 3 stars, and then like you get a call from somebody. It's like, hey, like I want to work with you, and yeah.
Ah, true. Interesting.
But I also think
Diplomatic.
art touches us the way it does. Not everything's a masterpiece, and if you're an actual artist, hopefully that's fine.
Yeah, I agree. I don't dabble strongly in the letterbox. I like to view and read, but I'm on there.
Okay, maybe we'll talk offline about that.
Okay.
I love it. We've had a few of the folks on. I actually re-listened to Chandler's episode when the movie first came out. Widely, like a couple months ago in the US is just when we're finally getting this movie that came out 2 years ago that you did the rounds 2 years ago in Canada. And now it's finally coming here.
It's crazy. This film is yeah. So okay, help me. It came out in 2022, right? It premiered at
Yeah.
TIFF in
TIFF,
2022.
right?
And then the next year, 2023, we were in theaters in Canada. And then at the end of the year, we jumped on Netflix. We're still there. 2024, we had our US theatrical release in LA and New York and a few other states, I believe. And the
Oh,
film
okay.
circuits, and I think Chandler just came back from Japan, running the festivals there, and it's still going. I don't mean it's still. It's just like
In Japan?
it's jumping. Yeah, it's it touches people's hearts. It's spreading around the world, and I just had this really lovely Brazilian journalist from Collider talk to me about how much the Brazilian audiences related and resonated with the film and found it funny, which is funny because it has so many Canadian references in it.
Is it okay? As a cinephile, I loved it, but I'm sure as an American, plenty of that went over my head.
Probably. Like there's this commercial. Do you remember the commercial for the Cash Man? There's a Cash
Yeah, I did. I was like, I wondered about that. I was like, is that like a pop culture joke or is that a real thing in Canada at the time? Or is that like a spoof on some pop culture
It's a real
like
thing.
bit of curio that Chandler's obsessed with? Like, I wasn't sure.
It's a real thing in Canada. Everyone in Canada knows that guy. He's the Cash Man, Russell Oliver. Shout out. And that's what his
Is
commercial.
he still with us?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was he delighted when he got the call that we want to use your commercial?
I don't know. I couldn't tell you, but he's real, and that joke slays in theaters in Canada. Just like that popping up, everyone, yeah, splits a gut. But yeah, and then Le Chateau is a store in Canada, and I don't know. There's so many references. But I sat in on the Santa Barbara Film Festival. We were the closing night film last year, and that theater is ginormous. I think it has 1,000 or 2,000 seats, and it was full.
That's the best.
So great. And I sat in the middle and everybody was laughing. Like hearing 1,000 people laugh at this film was incredible. So people get it.
What were some of the big, I want to talk about the movie itself, but what were some of the big laugh lines that you remember that like killed at Santa Barbara? Like, what were some of the big like killers there?
I don't know if this was one of the big killers. It's kind of small, and I think it was definitely just added in during editing, but it kills me every time. It's so after a very dramatic like mic drop scene that I don't think anyone was expecting, there's cutaways in the film to these like very quiet bits of scenery, and it's very heavy and morose. And then we cut to the high school hallway, and students are just moving through the hallway going to class, and you just hear over the speakerphone, "Will Chris Tucker please report to the office? It's time to take your Ritalin." And I just found that
Okay.
a hilarious insert. It's not in the script, but when I heard that, I just, oh my god, I love that so much. You know, in editing, you have so many opportunities to
Sure.
add a little something extra. That one kills me every time because everyone is just so weighted from the moment that passed, and you're just desperate for some kind of levity. And then that little announcement, oh my god, it kills me.
There were, I mean, both times I've watched it so far, a lot of like very big laughs. And the second time I watched it, there was a lot more heaviness. Like I obviously remembered like the big, heavier monologues and scenes the first time. But like the first time I watched it, I'd be like, oh, great. Like that's a feel good, like banger. It's a lot more of like a dramedy. There's a lot of serious stuff in there, but it is also like, it leaves you feeling so up, and all the things that like you're left with are the most positive things.
That's lovely to hear. I'm glad. I like that you. It's nice to hear that you watched it twice and you had a different sense each time, which I think makes sense. Um, yeah, there are a lot of important, I think, things that each character goes through that is can resonate with a different person at a different point in their life, right?
Oh, very much so. Yeah, if I saw this when I was like 20, I'd probably have a very different experience. I'd probably still love it, honestly, but it would definitely be a different experience.
Okay, yeah, I could see.
Um, and the second time, I don't know if I looked away for a second, but one of the first things that made me laugh really hard,
Yeah.
just and I bet it would kill in like movie theaters, especially on big screens with movie people, was the Sophie's Choice gag at the beginning
Oh yeah,
with the tapes. That was really like that's such a dumb little thing,
it's
but that was really funny.
so clever, right? Yes, and actually now that we're talking about it, you know where someone throws a gordita?
Okay, I wrote that down. That was so funny.
Again,
That was so
that
funny.
moment slays too of the face turn.
I didn't hear it the first time, I don't think. I didn't have the subtitles on the second time, but just and I don't know if it was ADR or after or what, but you're like, somebody threw like a Taco Bell taco, like in the thing, you're like, and in the gay and lesbian section, this is like a hate crime.
That's
And
fine.
that really got me.
That's hilarious. That's Chandler. That's Chandler
Well,
for
and
you.
every time Isaiah's voice cracks
Yeah,
too, like when he got really intense with his buddy, and the Wild Things
yeah,
tape gag that
yeah.
I remember, like the climax of the Wild Things gag at the end. But I didn't like it comes up like 5 or 6 times. Like it's throughout, like that's kind of like a through line of the whole movie.
Right. You're right. You're totally right, actually.
But when his voice cracks when he's yelling at his friend to return the tape
Yeah,
because there's like a $45 fee and it's so important to the store, like
yeah. But you could tell that
that
was real. Too. Like that was.
that nearly made me
Yeah,
cry.
did it? That's good.
I feel like if I was in a theater, that would be like one where I would need to like take a second and like calm down.
Oh, good. That's my favorite genre. Dark comedy is the best because it's it's real. It's relatable. The dark stuff is there, and you can talk about the dark stuff more deeply, more transparently because the humor makes it's like the humor makes it um it makes it allowable to share it with other people.
Yeah, it's like the spoonful of sugar there.
That's right. Yeah. But if it's really dark, right? You
Yeah.
should just keep that to yourself and in your own home and not let anyone know. When there's humor involved, that's like the allowance. That's like the community gets to share in humor. And you mix them together and you can air out the things that hurt, the pain. You know what I mean? It's the best genre.
It truly is. So we should say
Okay.
the movie we're talking about, I Like
Oh,
Movies by Chandler Levick, written and directed.
yeah.
Uh really, really wonderful. It's her debut feature, correct?
It is. Yes, and she just finished a second feature. So now there are two. It's not out yet, but yeah,
Love it. Can't wait.
me too.
Yeah, it's a simple movie. It's takes place over a couple of weeks, and there's a little time jump at the end, but it's basically a couple weeks in the life. It's a coming of age story of a very socially awkward cinephile with a tough family situation who he's got big dreams. He's very bad at personal relationships and interactions, and it's just kind of the story of him becoming a person, really.
Huh. Yeah, that's a nice way to put it. Oh God, and I'm gonna butcher the line now, but there was someone who contacted me in my DMs after they watched the film, and they were saying, this film just teaches you that movies can't make you a better person. Only people can do that.
Hmm.
And it's like, yeah,
That's good. I mean, I do love the power of cinema, but yeah, what is because he like Lawrence goes hard on the cinema, and when he gets the job at your video store, you play the manager. Is that a real franchise over there in Canada?
no, completely.
Okay,
That's completely made up, top to bottom.
basically
Culture,
like a
social.
blockbuster.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, he basically you're the manager of like the blockbuster analog. And yeah, he gets a job. He loves his 10 free rentals a week or month or whatever, and he does a lot of movies, but he is very very bad with personal relationships. There's his mom, his best friend, and then your character, the manager. And I feel like your character, honestly, both times I watched it, it's Lawrence's movie, but like you go through quite the arc as well. It's a really interesting story. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it, like before, during, and after, because this isn't just like if I have a critic on or somebody talking about the merits of the movie. Like this is very personal to you, but the second time seeing it more as like two broken people kind of helping each other along
Huh.
on the healing journey. Like the first time I definitely saw it more as Lawrence's movie because that's how it's most easily read. But your character Alana goes through quite a lot as well.
Yeah, she does. They both do, and they do help each other, um, unwittingly. Like that was not the plan. I think it.
Yeah, their relationship is interesting. What was your thoughts on the relationship? What kind of feedback has been on that? Because I feel like in the internet age, some people could take shots at that, but I haven't really seen anybody complaining about it, which is nice and kind of refreshing for the film Twitter kind of world.
I think there were a couple interpretations of the character of Alana being, what's the word? Predatorial, I guess, in
Hmm.
a way, which is fine. I mean, that's what art and film is. You make it from yourself, and then you put it out, and then it's no longer yours, and anyone can
Sure.
interpret however they like. And I don't take any offense to any interpretation whatsoever. It's a story, and you're meant to pull from it what you want and whatever helps you and whatever stirs you up. So that
And it is purposefully messy. It is very interestingly messy.
yeah, it really is. And that didn't occur to me ever, in my reading of the character and then my absorbing of the character. For for me, I just feel like, um when a trauma hits a person, it's like it can stunt them in that age,
Oh,
right?
absolutely. Yeah. No, the second time it was giving like hard Arrested Development vibes, or at least I saw it more the second time.
Yeah. And then it's like, but you still grow and age as a human.
Hmm.
But there was that trauma that hit. And if you don't lean into that and get help and really dissect it and embrace it and work through it
With other
with
people.
other people, then um, you still age and grow up and increase in maybe leadership roles and responsibilities and all of that. But you're leading from a place that is not fully informed and not fully formed. So that's what I think. I mean, like we're like, giving her a psychological diagnosis or something, but I just think that's what happens. And that's what happened to her. And I really relate to her in the sense of like, just like, oh my God, not in the direct exact way that she goes through it, but just like the crap you hear as like an actress. I like to say that I'm an actor because I don't think there is a need for the word actress really. It's just it's not actorman and you need actor woman. It's just actor. But
Sure.
as for her, an actress, female, who was navigating through the industry at such a young age, there are so many things said. It's unbelievable. And I think a lot of the time you are just trying to navigate through and push through and move forward so that you can do the thing you're trying to do the art, express yourself in this way. And I think with her, it just hit so hard. And she had a horrible, horrible, horrible experience. And I don't think she leaned into it. And I think she just tried to erase every part of her that touched that.
Yeah.
I imagine that her wardrobe before that happened was really cool and colorful and had feathers and interesting pieces and cool high heel shoes and accessories. And I imagine her wardrobe after that happened became very grounded and bland, and she just became a person who needed to get through. That's how
And it was like maybe purposefully not trying to draw attention to herself.
not trying to draw attention to herself. Also, she was like, I think she was a high dreamer. And then when that happened, she could no longer be a person who dreamed. And she had to be very based in reality and what's reasonable.
Well, which is interesting when Lawrence comes along, like he's kind of a socially awkward kid, but she like appreciates his boldness. Like there is probably, and it comes out later, maybe a little bit of irritation or annoyance with just the white male privilege, but I think she sees herself like the just kind of the high goals and the focusedness and the drivenness. Like she sees, I think, herself in Lawrence to a degree, some, and that kind of in her broken way kind of reawakens her, which the movie doesn't get too weird. And if it did, like it's art, but like you can see her like getting drawn to Lawrence of, oh, like this is what I used to be like back when I was like alive before the trauma happened.
Yeah, I like the way you put that, back when I was alive. Well, I agree. I think she does see herself in Lawrence. I think he is that dreamer that she once was. I think she wants to be a leader. She wants to be a mentor. She wants to be special in someone's eyes who has so much ahead of them and has such passion and confidence in their heart about something she once had that about. And I think they're just like two unhealed tornadoes that clash, and they never planned on it. But because it happens, that's the only reason they each wake up or each must face reality. And they help each other in this way that was combustible. It's only because of the combustion, I think, they had to look at their stuff, you know? But
Yeah.
when I was working on the character, I didn't necessarily see all the things that we're talking about. I feel like now I talk about it as an audience member, because back when I was working on the film, I think I was just very much absorbed in the thoughts that Alana would have had.
I mean, yeah, that makes sense. Because when did production start? Was that early COVID?
That
Because it was a whole COVID production, right?
Yeah, that was 2021, which was in the thick of
That's got to be a very weird time to
weird.
just make a thing like that.
Philip, so weird. The juju I feel for myself, like my juju, I felt like not normal. So we would go in every day and you would have to get the swab done up your nose by a
Sure.
doctor on set.
Yeah, you guys took it seriously.
Well, not only that, you had to. It's like union rules. If you want to make this movie, this is what you can do. Also, we had lockdown. So our wardrobe stylist could not go and find outfits for us.
Okay.
So she would ask us if we could go home and look for a plaid shirt, a blah blah blah, a blah. Blah. Yeah, it was
Interesting.
yeah, and then every
Save on budget, I guess.
stress.
Man, oh
Like you
man.
couldn't even do her job. She did a terrific job, Courtney Mitchell. But so that was happening, and then you were wearing masks, and that may not seem like a big deal, but on a film set, it's such an intimate process, right? And I want to be able to like see the DOP's face when he's doing a close up of me, and yeah,
Yeah, Chandler was saying that at one point her producers wanted her to like have you all wear masks in the movie, like while you were shooting, and it's like,
oh.
no, we're making a movie.
I didn't hear anything about that. Oh my god. We had to wear masks in between takes. Like I'd have my mask on, right? And then we
Well, I wonder if like blow it up, and I wonder if the 4K ever comes out, like if you can see like the mask lines and
I doubt it. Well, because makeup will come and look at your face, right? When they say, okay, we're
okay.
about to roll, then they put
With their
mask.
masks, they'll come
We
out.
come, yeah. And then you like, I remember stuffing my mask under the like Commodore 64 on the shelf, like,
Sure.
and just like having a place where my mask goes next to my sides. But yeah, and so you couldn't. I didn't feel like we could necessarily connect with the crew as much as I would have liked to. So I tried to connect with them after the fact or on breaks and stuff. But it's also actors typically get, let's say, their own trailer, right, or like a little room
Sure.
for themselves. And on this set we had basically a huge back room behind the set that they built in a strip mall, and it was awesome. We had the chairs sit in a set in a semicircle, spread out like 6 to 7 feet apart each chair, and
So everybody was, had their separation.
yeah, but we were all together, and like I loved that aspect because I felt like I connected with some of the actors and that a little bit more. Like I didn't have to run away to my little room or something. You know what I mean? Like I was there with them. And
Sure.
you had the producers in a table nearby. You had hair and makeup in this corner. Then you had wardrobe further back in that corner. We were all sharing this huge green room. And then Chandler would like scoot by on her scooter. She had a scooter. I loved that. I really loved that aspect. But it was that was all COVID protocol.
Did she reach out to you? Did your agent, like, since we have you like as an actor here, like how did you get first connected with her for this?
I had an audition. It was like the casting director sends out this movie to all the agents.
It was just like a wide call that you just like,
Absolutely.
I'll throw in my audition to it.
Absolutely. And it was an audition
Nice.
tape. So you put it yourself on tape and you send it off. And
Well, yeah, it was COVID. You'd have to, right?
exactly. And then casting director receives it, and then it kind of gets filtered through like, okay, this actor moves forward, this actor no to these, yes to these. Eventually Chandler saw it and I got a call back, and then I got to read the script, which I hadn't read the first audition.
That had to feel good. Like this is like a lead, basically. You're like the female lead of the movie.
Yes. Well, I'll tell you what, Philip, we get a lot of auditions. You know what I mean?
I would imagine so.
So when I get an audition, I just enjoy the moment of this audition without further thought. It doesn't matter if it's a Netflix series or if it's a very low budget indie. An audition is an audition, and you might book it and you might not. You have a 50-50 chance of it even maybe being watched, like sometimes, like if it's even going to be watched the whole
Yeah.
way through. Okay. So I really just took this and I was like, I liked the dialogue. I liked the scene. I really liked the scene and the dialogue. I loved it.
Was it in the final movie?
That scene,
The scene that you auditioned with?
scene I auditioned with, the first one was, it's the gordita scene.
Nice.
Yeah, but it was called something else. I think it was some other Mexican dish that she referenced. But anyway, it was that scene. And then I got the script, and I loved the script. I love the character, and I just thought like, great, this is great. Sometimes you work on these auditions, and they're just like, I can't. It's the dialogue is so unrelatable, or it's not always so wonderful. And for this
Sure.
particular audition, the actual dialogue, the actual scenes were fun. And like it felt so like the language is so pedestrian and funny and quirky, and it was enjoyable. And that's all I cared about. And then I ended up getting a chemistry read with Isaiah, and then I thought, "Oh my god, that was horrible." I thought I was terrible. I thought he was wonderful, and but I just felt like Philip, when you like something so much and you need
Sure.
so badly to give a good impression or do a good job, and so there's nothing you could possibly do to.
The guy did terrible. That was terrible.
Yeah, like there's nothing I could do would make me feel like, oh yeah, solid. I just felt like that was not it. That could not have been it. And then it turns out that was it.
Yeah, your guys' chemistry was phenomenal.
Ha, thanks.
Like the scenes of you two together, like when you're driving them home, or like just when you were teasing them. Honestly, I would have loved to have been in the premiere, like a 2,000 person theater.
Yeah.
The other one, the VCR
Yes.
rewind pop, that killed me. I think I had to pause it the first time I watched it, and I rewound it. Like that was so good. Like his face, and then all the VCR reminders pop. That's so good.
So clever,
That's
right?
so good.
Yeah. That's Chandler. Yeah, so clever.
But yeah, no, you guys had like fantastic chemistry. And like, I'm sure any audience member, like the actual relationship was like an ultimately positive one. And the age gap wasn't too big. Like, I'm sure a lot of people, when they go into their first job, like most of us have like some sort of experience with that. Like when you're brand new on the job,
Yeah.
there are older people there. And like the relationships with those people kind of help you become more of a person, and you make various connections with various sorts of people. And that's very authentic rather than like ugly.
I agree. I think that's why dark comedy is so great, or dramatic comedy is so great, is you can get away with the nuances of a relationship that's not so cut and dry. And
What I also personally, for any cinephile, I also imagine that Chandler would get miles and miles and miles of leeway with the content of I Like Movies, because right at the beginning she cites happiness. So
yeah,
you guys are more than good.
you know what? I recently watched that actually for the first time. Wait,
It's a lot.
so it was either last year. I think it was the beginning of 2024. And what killed me, there was a boom that went in the shot. Do you remember a boom being in the scene? You know,
No.
there was a boom, like the big mic, the big frame
Which one?
goes over.
Which scene?
Oh my god, I was like, no way! I took a picture and I sent it to the producer of I Like Movies, Evan Dubinsky, and I was like, hey Evan, did you see something here that doesn't belong? I was like, this is amazing. Happiness has a boom in the shot. Everything is fine in the world.
It's in the Criterion Collection now.
Right. Which scene? I don't remember. But
No, I've only seen Happiness once, and I mean, I want to have a broad mind. That was one that's I will maybe give it another try because it is in the Criterion Collection, and people are talking about it again. But that is not one I was raring to rewatch.
yeah. Yeah, that's a
What did you think? What was your thoughts on it? I mean, you like the dark comedies.
yeah, I mean, I accept. I just accept. I know that I'm going to watch. I know that what I'm watching is not a Netflix holiday movie, and I accept.
Sure.
I just go,
Well, and I also just loved like the young woman and her boyfriend that Isaiah's character recommends Happiness to. She's like, "Oh, thanks," and you're just like, "Oh, just a normie just walking out with that movie." Like, that's going to be a whole lot.
yeah, yeah. He was great. I remember when so everyone was cast and we had a table read, right? Which is when the cast and the creatives all get together and typically sit around an actual table in a room, and we read through the script. So everyone has a script in front of them, and you read your part as it comes to, and you read through the whole film. But it was COVID times, so we did it over Zoom. And I remember just thinking, like, who are they gonna get to play this kid, Lawrence? He's like so specific, and then Isaiah. I when we had that table read, I felt very good about the film overall, because I knew it was like perfect casting. So we were gonna be fine.
He was fantastic. Like, I hope he finds good roles for ages and ages. Like, I know he's cited on various interviews. Philip Seymour Hoffman and Happiness and Punch Drunk Love both feature prominently in the movie itself, but he was really, really good. His panic attack scene, man, like that should go on a reel. That was fantastic.
Yeah, it should go on a reel. Good call.
And the other one, the other big scene, and I'd love to hear any of your favorite parts, but the other big scene that, again, like perfect dark comedy, hilarious, touching, kind of hits all the emotions. The HR session
Oh,
after he sleeps in the store, leaves it unlocked, and then it gets robbed. Like
so
you, him, and the HR guy from corporate trying to have a meeting, and like you. Alana and Lawrence's tensions are all coming to the top with a very corporate guy, like trying to keep things like civil and appropriate and above board.
yes.
And that was such a wonderful scene.
Such a good dynamic between the three of us. I agree. That was so fun. I think I got one take. We often got one take because
Man, indie movies, that's yeah.
girl, we're gonna move. We don't have time. So, but that was fun. Gosh, that was so much. I remember that day on set. It turned out great. And that t-shirt that I was wearing, I was so proud because I didn't have to be in my sequels uniform.
Yeah, I love that.
I remember I wanted Alana to be like, this is what she slept in at home, and then just like didn't wash her face or brush her hair and just ran from home because she got this call that someone broke into.
Exactly. That's exactly
And
what
so
it came off
we have a
as.
Chantal Kreviazik t-shirt. We got the release from her team to have her image and her name on my t-shirt. That's what I'm wearing underneath that blue plaid button down. And I was like,
Nice.
I asked Courtney, the costume designer, I'm like, can we just get like a big spaghetti stain up in here, like huge pasta stain, like this is her truth. So she's like, this is her home life look. I got to keep that t-shirt. I still have it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that was such a good scene before, like, to set up, yeah, the culmination of the relationship at that point. Like,
Yes.
you guys were both doing good for each other, but also damaged people, and the different traumas that you guys both had were kind of rubbing up against each other really hard.
Yeah.
And then kind of the tension and the teasing and the weird relationship had kind of come to a point as well with Lawrence declaring his love, and you're like, what? Like, because Alana feels something for him, attracted to him in some way, but it's also she's an adult and he's this annoying kid. And then when he finally reciprocates, she's like, no, like, what? This is weird, and you're a mess.
It's so funny. It's interesting. Yeah, I in playing her, she didn't have an attraction for him in any kind of romantic way in playing her. But yeah, it's totally up for interpretation.
Well, not necessarily like a romantic attraction, but that desire, like the rekindled of like seeing somebody who's young, who is passionate,
Yeah.
and then kind of like wanting validation in a way, and like
Yeah.
knowing she's an attractive older person who can kind of like tease this young kid a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, that was just a really interesting dynamic. And then when he kind of is like responds, she's like, no, guy, like, what are you doing?
Yes. Oh my God. Like real life. I have a 16-year-old niece, and I got the tea from a friend of mine who's like a 40-year-old mom with a teenage daughter, and she's like, do you know the language? And I was like, no, what's the language? She's like, do you know what a gyat is? I'm like, gyat. And she taught me all these words, and I was like,
Oh boy, I'm old, I guess.
and
Yeah.
I wrote them in my phone. I was like, when I see my niece at the family gathering, I'm gonna bring these up. And I mentioned these words in like a conversational way, and she looked at me and she was like, Zia, never say that again. I was like, oh my God. Fair.
It's like, here's your AARP card.
Yeah. So yeah, that's normal. I think it's normal to
Yeah.
even, it's so this is sort of to your earlier question, but moments that I loved, and I never get sick of seeing the scene between the mom, Krista Bridges. Krista Bridges plays Lawrence's mom, and Lawrence.
Wonderful.
She's okay, and
I remember like the first time, not that she didn't stand out, but I was like locked into the Lawrence Alana story, but she was wonderful in every scene.
so good, right? So good. I thought it was always so funny when she walks in on him attempting to
Oh,
masturbate, and then
that was so
and
funny.
then he says, "I love you," and the reaction. I thought that was. I always think,
That was another voice crack. Well, see, that was interesting too. I clocked it the second time I watched it. That scene happens right after Alana drives him home for the first time.
yes, right,
Because he's a
yes,
teenage boy, but like he was kind of appalled when his buddy Matt was like talking about his sexual and romantic interests.
right,
And he was kind of like evasive to it. But then Alana drives him home and then that scene happens
yes, yes, very true.
with the voice crack. Mom! Like,
Yes, I know. And her reaction of like, he just, as soon as she's like mortified, but then he says, "I love you." And then her reaction of like, "Love you." Like that made everything better. Like she needed his approval too. I don't know. I think she was so funny. And then it was also very heartbreaking in that scene where they toast to dad, right? At dinner.
oof.
Her reaction,
Wow.
I always get shivers. I always get shivers when I see.
Yeah, both of them weaponizing the suicide against each other. Like, that was brutal.
Yeah. Oh god, it's just her reaction, her mouth full of food, like she's just visceral. It's visceral, and I always feel like, oh my god, that feels very real. And
Well, and you got to play with her too. I
yeah,
love it when she comes to the store and like tries to help you two at the checkout when Lawrence can't. You're like, you don't need to do that.
yeah. When we were filming that scene, it was literal chaos, and Chandler was like, "Wait, I am not able to catch this. This is not
I
working."
think that was the most people in a scene in the whole movie because there was like the premise was like Lawrence was late. There's a lot of work to do. He's having a panic attack. His mom's there. All the employees are there, but there's like a long line of people that are getting backed up.
Yeah,
I think that's definitely the most people in one scene.
it was definitely the most complicated blocking. I know it doesn't look complicated in the finished product because they cut it so cleanly, but when they were trying to get coverage and wide shots and everything, trying to get us all to do the exact same chaotic action and overlap each time, it wasn't going to happen. So they cut it so cleanly. But I remember when we were filming that scene, Chandler was like, "This is not working. Like like, we need to fix this." And it was very fun though. It's so fun to have a chaotic scene.
She was so funny, like trying to help people check out when she's like, she doesn't know any of the systems, but she's trying to help her
I
son.
know.
And then she just drops on you like that Lawrence's dad committed suicide. And you're like, oh, I'm sorry. That's real bad. We're very busy here right now.
Yeah, I know. She's great. I think she's great in everything she does.
She was wonderful. And then finally, I know we're jumping all over the place here, but because things are not good for Lawrence.
Yeah.
He loses his job. He doesn't get into the school he wants to get in. And then the scene where you two meet up after a little bit of time
No,
in like the hot dog store.
I know.
Is that a Canadian place?
Oh, you don't have Subway? Yeah, we have
Oh, that was just Subway? Okay.
Yeah, wasn't it Subway? I think it
Okay.
was.
I didn't recall. It wasn't clear.
Oh, it may not have.
Signage
We may not
wise.
have had the signage of Subway because I feel like that requires a release. I don't remember now, but it was. That's what it's meant
Okay.
to be like a Subway.
Yeah. No, yeah, that was a really touching scene where
Oh,
we're like, you just teach him how to be a person. And really the punchline of that is like, be interested in other people. Like, he's really interested in art. He's interested in cinema. He's gonna probably do well if he can figure out the personal aspect of things.
yeah,
And you basically are like, ask people questions and listen. And that's such a simple thing, but he apparently up until then hadn't gotten that lesson yet.
yeah. And isn't it true that I know it was like sort of like a soothing balm to say like you've got a real college type personality, people will like you better then. But it is
Oh yeah.
true that there are like eras in our lives, and high school will not last forever, and then college will not last forever, and then your like 20s will. And it's like it's okay. It's okay if you're having a hard time right now. This may not be your time. This just maybe when you're 40, you're really gonna hit your stride. Like it's okay.
Yeah. And then the climactic, like, what's your actual favorite movie? Because you're teasing them with The Shining, with the VHS tapes popping, but like when you tell him, and I mean maybe that we don't need to spoil, but the cut right after that, like, didn't quite make me cry, but like really got me
Cute,
when
right?
he's in his dorm.
I
Like
know.
that was really, really
I
precious.
know. I thought so.
And it kind of redeems, like, I didn't feel like there was any problem with the relationship, but I feel like any questions an audience might have, like, that really redeems it because it's a very pure thing.
Yeah, well, it's just two people who have trauma in different capacities, do not have the tools to deal with it, do not have the tools to move forward in life in a really like healthy, in touch with reality way. And they have this relationship. It's a work professional relationship that becomes something friendshipy. I don't know, but like that's that's what's gonna happen. That's normal. Like
Yeah.
people are not perfect. People are not perfect. And like that doesn't mean that it's just sometimes wonderfully unexpected where you will learn a huge life altering lesson. You know,
Oh, completely. Well, and I thought it was so beautifully done. There wasn't really any awkwardness when you two met in the restaurant. You're like, "Hey, can I sit here?" And you just talked, and like you both really encouraged each other. Like Alana's character is getting back into the creative stuff. Lawrence is getting ready to go to college actually, and like something reasonable that he can do, like
mm,
not like a pipe dream, but like genuinely pursue something that he loves. And you both are, you both have a really wonderful interaction.
that's nice. Thanks, Philip. Yeah, it felt I remember when we shot that, that was my last scene. We didn't shoot the film in order, but that happened to be my last scene.
It makes sense.
It would make sense, but it doesn't always work out that way, but it did. And I felt so horrible walking away from that set at the end of the day. I just felt like maybe because it was also COVID, and Alana, she just meant so much to me, and I felt like she was such a real person, and everything that she went through, I went through her. And I just felt like I was leaving a sister behind when as I drove
Aw.
myself home. Yeah, it was heartbreaking. I felt like I was saying goodbye to her, and she just did so much, you know? She went through so much. And yeah, I remember I gave Chandler a huge hug outside of that subway. And I still was like thinking to myself, I hope I did your character justice. I just loved her so much, you know? And it turned out okay.
Well, I loved her very much. I loved the whole thing. It was one that I hope that listeners check it out, share it, tell other people about it. I really hope you guys are able to get like a really nice like Blu-ray release somewhere. I see all these like friend of the show and letterbox employee Slim on his last review just saying how it's a crime that all these like trashy movies get these like 3 disc special editions with all this nice new art, and I Like Movies still doesn't have one. Like, this is great. Like, people, I hope, is there anything that you can talk about? Do you know if this is coming out anywhere soon?
Oh, yeah. So right now it's on VOD in the US, across the US.
No, like physical release.
I would imagine. Okay, so I know you can get it's not Blu-ray, but you can get it on DVD on Amazon
Oh,
in
okay.
Canada. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so but I don't know that. But I'm not saying you can't get it in the U.S. I haven't tried. You might be able to. I could actually just pull up my phone and check after. But after VOD, so I think in February, that's when we start to check out some streaming platforms for the film, and then I would imagine at that point there will be some kind of like actual physical.
I hope so. Like, 'cause I mean, I feel like one of the Vinegar Syndrome sublabels, like that would be perfect for.
Mm.
They do so much indie stuff, and we can talk after. I even thought about reaching out to Chandler saying, "Hey, like, let's see what we can do because this is a great movie, and I would love for like cast commentaries, like all that stuff. Like this movie should get like
Oh,
the royal treatment, I
that'd be
think.
cool. That would be really cool. Yeah. It was a special time during a hard time, and I'm glad that it's still making its way to viewers and that you watched it twice. Thanks, Philip.
I will definitely be watching again. Like this is a very easy recommend to people.
Cool.
Like movie people will relate to it in a special way, but I feel like this is one that anybody can relate to.
Like, who didn't have a big dream for themselves back in high school? Like, in those days, in
Yeah.
those early days where you're like, oh, I'm going to become a whatever. And what happens when the dreams don't come true? And that, I think this movie is largely about that for both characters. And it's like, yeah, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
You'll be fine.
It's okay for your dream to evolve.
Yeah, exactly.
And it will have to. And the people thing is huge as well. Like
Yeah.
you gotta put yourself out there and connect with people.
I think that's the thing that what that person, that lovely person meant when they said, you know, movies can't. I'm botching. They said it so beautifully, but like movies can't make you better. Only people can. And like, listen, I'm a movie aficionado. Like I'm obsessed with film and television and acting and what that can do for me and for people. And you have to blend and connect with people.
Yeah, no, we have bodies. Like we're not just disembodied souls or intellects. Like we are embodied folks. We talk about that on the show
Yeah.
a lot.
Yeah.
Like
And it's gonna
the bodies we live in, the cities we live in, the time we live in, like that is all that is grounding, and we need to live there, not just kind of in our heads or things like that.
Yeah, and it's gonna be very imperfect. It's gonna be so imperfect and feel horrible sometimes and very uncomfortable. And that's like that's so normal. It's fine and it's normal and it has to go down and still we like movies.
We love them.
Yeah.
Well, Romina, I love your movie. I can't wait to see all the things that you're doing next. I actually saw. I can cut this out if you want. What is it called here?
Turn the
Pause
beat
for editing.
around. Does it turn the beat around? It's a
Let's
dance.
chop all this out. Probably. What is it? Because I just looked you up. Your Lifetime movie is also streaming here on the library
Girl.
channel.
Stop.
The daughter I gave away, I was like, well, I mean, I'm on Team Romina now. Maybe I'll check this out
Oh
here.
my gosh. Well, while you're at it, you should watch Turn the Beat Around. That was an MTV movie I did when I was 23, dance film.
I saw that.
Oh no, you watched it?
No, I haven't watched it. I did a Letterboxd IMDb, and I heard on an interview you were also in Honey. You're not credited anywhere, but I definitely saw Honey when it came out.
I am credited as a dancer. I was a dancer. I was one of her dance troupe.
Oh, I mean on Letterboxd. Letterboxd has like 18 credits. IMDb has a ton. Like
Yeah.
IMDb has like probably everything you were ever like credited in at all.
Yes. Yeah, IMDb, I think, yeah, has the most like detailed, accurate info. But
I thought Honey was great when I was a teenage boy when it came out. Big fan. Jessica Alba, I was a very big fan.
who wasn't?
One year, actually no, my 16th birthday, my friends threw me a party and they actually gave me a Jessica Alba cake.
No way!
Yeah.
No!
Yeah.
That's really cute. That's really cute because you liked her so much.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
I mean, I was a big movie guy, and all the people in my high school knew I was a movie guy, and she was one of my favorites at the time. And they got me a big old Jessica Alba cake for my 16th birthday.
that's really cute. I love that. Oh man. Yeah, we shot that in Toronto as well.
I gotta make more Canadian movie connections. Actually,
Okay.
as of recording, the next movie episode we put out is actually with a Canadian film critic,
Oh yeah, who was it?
Marta Djordjevic.
Who Marty Djordjevic?
Marta.
Marta. Oh, who does she write for?
All over. She's freelance. She has her own channel, but she also writes for a lot of the ones that employ like freelance critics.
Oh, cool. Interesting.
She's great. I think you would like her stuff.
All right.
I'll connect you. I'll
I
send
love
you
that.
her profile.
Yes, please do. Yeah, that'd be great. Good for you.
We do have one segment. I don't think I prepped you for this before, but we do have one segment, substance shout outs. I love hearing that you're a movie gal. You love your movies, but what have you been watching, reading, listening to? Like, you can pick a handful of things. What has moved you? What has made you think? What has just been fun stuff? What have you been enjoying lately that you would say, hey, go check these things out? I thought they were great or challenging or just a good time, and more people should check them out.
So, okay. So it doesn't have to be like cinema related.
It can be. I mean, maybe give me one. If you don't have any, that's fine. I'll maybe ask you one or two specifics. But yeah, whatever you have been enjoying.
Okay. I recently have been watching actually more. I feel like I'm really waving the flag for Canada in this podcast
Do it.
episode. More than
My
usual.
Canadian, I mean,
But
yeah, I need to know more of it. I think I've watched like 300 movies some last year, and I'm sure my Canadian stuff is woefully lacking.
well, okay, I just watched this movie called The Swearing Jar, and it's also a
Okay.
dark comedy, and I really liked it a lot. I really liked it. That was something very recent. I actually cracked open The Artist's Way again
Okay, nice.
because of a girlfriend of mine. She recently cracked it open and she was like, "Ro, I went on an artist date and sister, it was kind of major." So I was like, "Okay, well, I'll do it with you." So I'm into the Artist's Way and just navigating bits that could serve me. This is not artsy at all, but Dan Sullivan is the, I guess, owner and founder of this entrepreneurial mentorship called Strategic Coach, and he writes these
Okay.
books that are quite bite-sized but very each book is very specific in what it tackles, and they've been so helpful to get my artist mind connected more to my entrepreneurial mind, which is actually very important for an artist.
Yeah. Well, and you also have your own brand,
I do.
your
My
jewelry.
jewelry brand, and that I think got me really in touch with my business side and kind of helped me understand that I actually have quite a knack and a skill and a propensity toward entrepreneurial work, and
Nice.
it's moving me into some producing work in the acting world.
Love
Isn't
that.
that funny? It's just like,
Love
you know how
that.
sometimes, I don't know if this ever happens for you, but beginning to dedicate yourself to something that is a little off course and you're like, is this really going to help? Is this the right move? Is this the right path? It's kind of off brand for me, but I'm really drawn to this. And it's like, you know what? F it. I'm just going to go for it. My heart's, I'm going to go for it. And it's never the wrong choice. It's
Yeah, diversification and variety is almost always like enriching.
right. But I easily could have been like, oh man, this is like, I could have devoted my time to like writing more instead. That would have been more of a direct correlation to the acting life I had, a more direct matchup. Instead, I created this jewelry brand, but it was like, no, that's what was in my heart. And that ends up really increasing these like skills and this skill set within me that I use now as an actor. But
Nice.
anyway,
All the pieces you've shared have looked like incredible.
thanks.
You got a great PR videography team, all the copy that's come out, it looks very professional and top notch.
Thank you so much, Philip. That means a lot. I love it. I love all of it. I really do.
Okay, so the swearing jar, that is a film?
The Swearing Jar is a film. I think Lindsay McKay is the filmmaker.
I'll put that in the show notes. So is there anything in the last couple of years, because you're in the indie world, your movie, phenomenal, everybody check it out. Is there any indie filmmaker or film that you wish specifically that more people would check out or know about?
Okay, well, I have people very much in my direct like sphere who are indie filmmakers who are so talented. Chell Steven is one of them. I'm not plugging myself, although I did just work with her, but She is so creative and clever and determined and capable. And she created this film that we did both work on together and funded it herself with her own production company.
Love
And
that.
you know what, Philip? I met with her last year. We became friends. We worked on something else together. And so we became buddies and we were on a walk, sipping coffee and going on a walk together. And she was like, you know what? I have this idea for a film. And I was like, okay. And she gave me a little bit of it. She's like, but it's not fully formed yet. Let's shoot it in September. September was 6 months from then. And I was like, okay. She done made a script, cast it,
A feature?
a feature.
Wow.
Okay, funded it, came up with everything, the crew, location, everything, got it unionized. She got everything done in the timeline she said she was going to get it done, and she made it happen. And then she edited it for 2 weeks directly after filming wrapped and started submitting it to festivals. And
Yo, I love her already. I need to talk to her and check her stuff out.
yeah, Chelsea Stevens. And I think stuff is really starting to bubble for her. She's been working for a while, but she's just one of those filmmakers who it's like, just give her the money. Just give her the money and she'll make it happen.
That is another thing I think that Canada, I mean, I'm sure it's competitive, but I do appreciate that you guys have money specifically for the arts. We really need to start doing that again, man. We spend so much money on so many things. Like, there is the art for art value, there's the job creation of it,
Yeah.
there's the inspiration of future talents. Like, we really need to fund the arts.
Yeah, it's a thing. It's a thing.
Well, I love it. I look forward to checking out Chelsea Stevens' work.
I will let you know when this comes out, when other things come out. I'll keep you posted for sure.
Beautiful. Obviously, go see I Like Movies if you're in the US. It's streaming on Hoopla as of this recording. Hopefully soon it'll be on a Netflix or a Prime or something like that. But Romina, where'd you like to direct folks? Where can they
Please.
see what you're working on, follow you,
I
etc.?
think you can also just like rent I Like Movies on Apple or anywhere.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah, give them a few bucks. Pay for it too.
Yeah.
It is well worth it.
It's a fun night. It's a fun movie night. And what else? Well, you can find me on Instagram at Romina Dugo, and there's a link there to my jewelry brand, which is called Willamai Jewelry Co. And we've got a very cool, edgy, dark, quirky, funny, ridiculous film by a first time feature filmmaker, Woody Bess, who's got scripts on the blacklist. He's so talented, and that's coming out. It's called Portal to Hell. It'll be in Slam Dance. We're premiering at Slam Dance, and then beyond.
Cannot wait.
Yeah, I think it'll be really, really great. So that's the next thing you could probably catch me in, and there's a couple other features that are making their way out but haven't been released yet. So catch me on the gram, and I'll fill you in there.
Excellent. Put it in the show notes.
Okay.
Romina, love the movie. It was wonderful to talk to you. I hope we talk more in the future. And yeah, I will be supporting all these things, sharing them with folks. I really appreciate what you're doing out there.
Thanks, Philip. That means a lot. This has been a really nice conversation with you. It really has been.
There you go. I Like Movies. I hope if you haven't watched it yet, you are sold on it to go check it out again. Hoopla and Libby. If you have a library card, you can check it out, or just go to your favorite digital provider and rent it. It's a really great time. Before we do our little outro here, we actually have a voicemail note from actually at this stage of things. We recorded these a long time ago out of order, but we got a voice note from our guest last week, Canadian journalist and critic and film historian Marta Djordjevic.
Hello, hello, Marta McFly here, calling in to gleefully rave about I Like Movies by Chandler Levick. This was a recent watch for me. I actually received the nudge to cross it off my watch list from the Substance podcast. So Thank you for that. I adored this film. As someone who grew up in Canada in the early 2000s, this just felt like stepping into a time capsule. The attention to detail was really impressive. I'm still kind of shocked how the video rental store where we spend so much time in the film just felt so real, so authentic in terms of all of the merchandise on display. And I mean, as someone who grew up obsessed with movies myself, it just wasn't surprising that I loved this. The amount of gags and passing jokes and references to movies just had me howling throughout, and the cast as well. I mean, it goes without saying that they were all remarkable, but it's Romina Dugo that really stood out to me, particularly the monologue she gives in the film, and you'll know it when you see it for listeners that have yet to watch it. That utterly floored me. It was powerful, heartfelt, so genuine, just this grounding moment in the film, and where things settle down and become more quiet, and it just leaves this room for introspection. Just really beautiful stuff. And yeah, she blew me away in this film. So thank you again for the gentle nudge to cross this off the old watch list. And I urge everyone else to check it out as well if you haven't, especially if you adore movies as much as I do, and as much as everyone involved in this project does as well. Thank you.
That makes me so pleased to hear. Glad that Marta liked the movie, and that she and Romina were able to connect and hit it off. So if you would like to get your voice note, voicemail put on the show, you can record a voice note on your phone and email that to thesubstancepod@gmail.com. Or if you want to just send us a regular old email telling us what you think about the show, suggestion of topics, guests, films, things like that, you can send that correspondence over there, and we'll take a look at that. If you really love what we do here at this show, thanks. We love you too. If you want to join us in support, there are links in the show notes for our Patreon that we are working on. Some nice deals, hopefully, there in the future. But if you want to just give us a couple bucks without a recurring deal, you can do that on Cash App at $thesubstancepod. Really appreciate everyone who does that. We're working on a number of things. And it is always appreciated for an independent show to get your support. Next week, we're actually off. So we got a bunch of episodes in a row there. I'm going to be shooting for 3 normal episodes a month with an off week. Next week will be our off week. And then the following week will be a regular Substance episode, not a cinema one. I actually have a couple of different guests on the docket for that. So we'll see which one I end up wrapping with first, and that'll be in 2 weeks from now. And you just might also find sometime next week an April Fool's episode. If there's a chance that schedules might mess that up, but I'm also pretty sure that we're going to be able to get that knocked out. So April 1st, there should be a surprise, fun, silly bonus film episode on your feeds. So you can look forward to all of that. I have been your host, Philip Marinello, and we will see you next time on The Substance.